Hello everyone, for Channel 6 TV Community Focus, I'm Dennis George, and continuing with our series of interviews with local candidates who are on the ballot November 8th, including races for the Marion County Board of Education. And one of those contested races comes in District 4, where incumbent Mike Cecil is facing opposition from Peggy Downs. And Mike, first of all, I want to thank you for taking time to come up and visit with us today.
Dennis, I want to thank you especially, and also Gary White and Channel TV6. I think this is a great opportunity to help our voters become more informed about the issues that's facing us this election. In fact, this may sound ironic though, but I'm glad we all have opposition because it gives us a chance to tell the story about the last few years and the successes we've had here in Marion County. So 4 years ago I had no opposition, so I didn't get a chance to tell my story. Now I do. And I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Well, and I think, as you said, thanks to Gary for doing that. I'm just kind of the hired hand who's here helping out a little bit. And I guess what we've done with, and we'll do with every candidate, is I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to speak to the voters, obviously entrenched in the community as most local candidates are. But if there's someone out there, believe it or not, who may not know Mike Cecil, Peggy Downs, Jerry Evans, or any of the other candidates, give you an opportunity to tell them who you are and tell them a little bit about you as a person, maybe, not necessarily as a board member.
Well, Dennis, I was born and raised here in Marion County. My mother came from the St. Mary's community. My dad came from the Rabbit community. And my families, both sides of my families, came from southern Maryland in the late 1700s. So I feel like part of my DNA comes from the soil of West Marion County. I really do. I'm the oldest of 11 children, and my dad was retired from General Electric and moonlight farming when he came home from General Electric.
Moonlight, not moonshine.
That is
okay,
correct.
I want to make sure. That right. Okay.
I hope I said it right.
You did. You said it right.
Thank you. That's exactly right. And I went all 12 years, both at St. Francis Elementary School, and then they call it St. Francis Grade School, and then St. Francis High School. I graduated in 1965. And I went to St. Catherine's College, and then I laid out a year and paid my bills and earned some money to finish out at EKU. I graduated in 1972. So I'm a strong believer in education. I left Marion County in the early 80s because there weren't much opportunities here. Unless you own a business, or your family owned a business, or your family had a large farm, or if you're a professional. And so there wasn't a lot of opportunity. And, I hated it when I left, but it actually turned out it was the best thing that ever happened to me to get out of here and get on my own and see what the real world was like. So I moved around quite often, and I lived in several states. And each state I lived in several communities. So it gave me an opportunity to see what other communities had to offer. And I can tell you that Marion County has as much to offer as anybody. We got the natural resources, we got the people, and above all, we got a great educational system here in Marion County. We got a lot of good educators, and we got a lot of leaders that are positive that have led our school district to heights that we haven't seen in a long time. So I'm tickled to death about being part of the Marion County Board of Education.
All right, and obviously the big question on the ballot for voters in Marion County, believe it or not, might not be Hillary or Donald, and it might not be Terry Mills and Brandon Reed, and it might not be Mike Cecil and Peggy Downs. Maybe the big issue is the nickel tax to a lot of people, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to state your opinion on that and talk about your view of where it is.
Well, first of all, that is the big elephant in the room, Dennis. There's no question about it. It's the big issue, and it really is more important than any individual board member or any other candidate, honestly. To us locally, it's more important than the presidential election. It is more important to the United States Senate. It's more important to the state representatives on the ballot. We have an opportunity here locally to set our destination, or plan our destination, a pathway to the next generation. 8 years ago, when this proposal was on the ballot, I was for it then. I was not on the board. I have no kids in the system, but I believe so much in education that it's important that our students have a great learning environment. it is statistics and research shows that the learning environment has to do with facilities. It really does. Now, it's not the only thing that helps have great academic success and achievements, but the thing that I get these questions, and most times the questions I get, I am really pleasantly surprised the number of people that are in favor of it. I thought my end of the county would be totally against it. That is false. I'm finding a lot of people in favor of it, and they understand that, you know, they want the kids to go to good schools. Now, we got some major issues in some of our schools. Everybody knows that. It's been written about. And the thing I want to point out is this may be the last opportunity for us. If we get the nickel tax, it's been written about numerous times that the state's going to match that tax. It increases our bonding potential, our borrowing power to do things that we need to get done. If we don't get the nickel tax, there are going to have to be some hard decisions made. Now, we've made too much of progress in our school districts to give it up. If we don't get the nickel tax now, the funding that we put in programs that are proven strategies are going to have to be used to make our facilities better. I don't think the citizens of Marion County want us to see regress in the academic success we've had. Now, the other thing is to keep in mind is that if we don't get the nickel tax now, let's say a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we decide to go through this process again, and if you get the nickel tax then, there's no guarantee that the matching fund is going to be there. I understand now in Frankfort, that may go away. So that means if we wait 2 or 3 years from now to get the nickel tax, we're not going to have that support from the state. So I think it's really important that that our citizens become informed about the nickel tax, and so I appreciate this opportunity to talk about it.
All right, you're on the ballot, and obviously, come August, September of next year, if you're reelected, the board will have to set the tax rate for for people to pay their property taxes, and the rate for the budgeting process.
Right.
Where do you stand on holding the line through your term, or raising taxes to people even if the nickel tax passes?
Well, I've made a personal commitment that if the nickel tax passes, I will not be in favor of the 4% rate to increase the taxes. I've said that for the next 3 years, I'll be willing to give it up. I think in this case right here, Dennis, that we have to give up something to gain something. We have to give up something to have a bigger gain, and that's where I come from. But so I made that commitment that the next 3 years, if we get the nickel tax, I won't vote for that 4%.
Yeah, and Mike, I think, and sometime maybe I've been negligent in not talking about this with some other candidates. The fact that property values raise has nothing to do with where your tax rate is as well. You're only taxing people on a rate of what their property is worth, not what their property, if that rate goes up and down.
Right.
So correct. You guys are only setting a rate, and if you don't increase the rate, that's all that you guys can do.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. What, during your time on the board, there have been some times that you were in the middle, you were a part of the board when there was a little bit of turmoil in the school system. Superintendent came under a lot of criticism. As a school board member and looking at where the school system is today, how would you grade Superintendent Schlosser's performance as a superintendent? And also, if she was interested in continuing as superintendent when her contract comes due, how would you stand on that?
I think that we have a fantastic superintendent in Laura Schlosser. There's no question, when I came on board in 2010, that's when I got elected in a special election, took office in January of 2011. It was in turmoil, and it was rough. I'll be honest with you, it was really rough, and we were getting a lot of criticism, but you know, a lot of those things was going on then took place before I came on the board, so I'm not trying to make an excuse for that,
right.
But that's the fact, though. So when Superintendent Schlosser became superintendent, she was handed a plate full of issues. I mean, a huge plate full of issues. And it came to a time, honestly, personally, I can't, she's never shared this with me, but I thought was going to lose her. And I kept encouraging her. I said, listen, you got the board has your back. Stay in there. Let us have the criticism. Put it on us. So we got through that, and now when she was able to put her team together to help carry out her vision, and could articulate her vision, the results are there now. So she has surrounded herself with great people, educators, people who are involved in professional development. And one of the things, Dennis, I'd like to point out is, since I've been to the board, in the last 2 years, I've had the privilege of being the chairperson. And one of the things that I really wanted to do, I'm not a micromanager at all, but I do believe in adhering to the board policy and board procedures. And that's my job as a board member. But we have put the board and the superintendent on the same page. So with that in mind we've been able to, I like to use the 4 C's, to focus on 4 C's. We have a program called the Ed Leader 21, and what it focuses on the 4 C's: critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity. And so we collaborate often. We bounce ideas off each other. We collaborate, we communicate, and we're creative. And that's part of the reason that we've been successful, that we've been the last 2 years. Now, last year, when we had great results from last year, people could say that was a fluke. But when you do it 2 years in a row, it's not a fluke no more. It's because of intentional planning. We use student data to drive our decisions. So we focus on putting investments into areas to empower our teachers and our students alike. It's recommended by the Kentucky Department of Education that we put somewhere between 75 and 80% of our money into teacher salaries. What that does, it allows us to recruit and retain high quality teachers, and that's where we are exactly. So not only this board, but previous boards, Dennis, I have to give them credit too as well, and past superintendents, that some of the successes is not just ours, but it's also past superintendents and past boards. We've been through a lot. It hasn't always been easy, but been patient and been persistent, and continuity, I believe, is the key to our continued success.
All right, what are the challenges? And we won't talk about nickel tax.
Sure.
We're not going to talk about buildings. We're not going to talk about maintaining buildings. What challenges, other than those, face the person who will sit district representing District 4 going forward?
Well, this is an issue. I've been thinking about this a lot, actually, and I get that when I'm talking to people. It hasn't been talked about, quite frankly, but we all see national news. We get 24/7 now, and I think the board, we have to start to think about safety and security in our buildings. I think that's a paramount issue come down the road. Now, I don't want to create an idea or a thought for somebody that's needs some motivation.
But things are different than when you went to St. Francis High School.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
They're entirely different now. You're right. Exactly right, Dennis. And I think that's an issue that we need to talk about. I don't like to talk about it too much because I don't want to give somebody an idea or give some kind of encouragement for that sort of negative, evil thought, so to speak.
Okay. As you've been on the board, what would you point to as an accomplishment that the board, and again, it's collaborative between the board and the superintendent, the administration, all the personnel, what would you like to hang your hat on and say, this is something that as a group we've accomplished? What are you most proud of?
Oh, wow. I mean, I tell you what, that's a great question, and there are numerous things, but I've already spoke about it, though, and that is putting the board and the superintendent on the same page. That's not maybe one item, but I can go back through the fact when we created a position called the coaches. The 6 coaches we had, and we got a lot of criticism for that. We got criticism because we put money into those positions, and we made sure they weren't going to be the assistant to the principal or an aide to the principal. They serve school-wide and grade-wide, so they weren't assigned to any one individual schools. So they allow them to collaborate with teachers in the classrooms And you know as well as I do, that's where the rubber meets the road. And so I think it's one thing right there. One of our elementary schools had persistent low reading grades, and when they came to us, that was one of the previous boards I was on, came to us, and we put money in that, and lo and behold, I'm happy to say that one elementary school has really increased the reading level, and the other will be putting the superintendent and the board on the same page.
All right, if there's a disappointment or something, I'm not going to say a regret.
Okay.
You know, it's easy to talk. You know, when I would do job interviews, you know, what are you good at? And you'd also say, okay, what do you need to work on? And everybody knew what they were good at, but didn't know what they needed to work on. What does the board need to work on?
Well,
or the school system as a whole.
Yeah, you know, that's a toughy question. I think one is that I keep hearing these things that, you know, we got to stop misspending money. When I hear that, I ask people individually, please point out to me where we're wasting or misspending money. Please do that. You know, we got a very conservative board. In fact, right now, our financial officer is out on medical leave, and we've had to bring in 2 people from 2 different districts that are retired or now work for the Kentucky Department of Education. And they can only work so many hours. They can't be full-time. So we have to patchwork that position right now. And one of the questions in the last board meeting is, what do you see in our budget that you see that sticks out that maybe we can work on? And they told us that you all have a very conservative approach to finances. There's nothing in your budget you all be ashamed of. In fact, when we budget, we start at ground zero. Some districts, organizations, actually, when they got money left over in the fund, they build on top of it. We don't. We start at zero budgeting. And so that I'm proud of, and go ahead.
Well, and I guess when you get outside eyes looking in, someone who's not familiar at all with your situation, it probably makes you guys think, we've done the right thing. We've been doing the right thing. We need to continue the path.
Well, I tell you what, there are people out there that are excited about the accomplishments. When I go through some of the lists, I can't list them all here. There's too many of them. And they're asking, what can you do to continue the successes? I said, well, first of all, you got an experienced board already in hand. You know, why would you want to change horses in the middle of the water right now, in the middle of the stream? Why not continue on with the proven leadership that you have in place right now? All the candidates, Dennis, are quality people. The challengers are all quality people, come from great families. I have nothing against them at all, but I'm glad we have opposition because it gives us the opportunity to talk about some of the great things going on in this school district. And ultimately, as long as I'm on the board, I want this Marion County school system to be the place to go. I want people who graduate from college, want to go into education. I want them to come to here, whether from here or from somewhere else. I want the school system to be so good so when somebody's relocating an industry or want to expand, they want to come here because we not only have high academic standards, but also have opportunities for the kids to be involved in extracurricular activity, and besides that, own a good living. Okay. That's what I want to do.
You said you didn't have time to list your accomplishments. Yeah. I'm sure Gary would like to sell you some advertising time where you could maybe do it. But take a minute or two in closing to make your appeal, make your plea, make your case to the voters in District 4 why they should reelect Mike Cecil.
Well, first of all, I love what I'm doing. Okay. Secondly, I love education. Now, I was not a great student in school, but I love school. In fact,
that was all the fun and the recess and the girls. Is that it?
Well, one got to Eastern.
Okay.
Well, one got to St. Catherine's.
Okay.
You talk to my classmates, especially the females, said I was the shyest kid in class.
Okay.
And they could not believe where I'm at now. But when I was at Eastern, though, and in my political science classes, I always sit up front. And it was me that always had my hands raised up. The professor got tired of calling them, so he'd always looking over me to find someone else to answer. So, but I learned that way. That's the way I learned. Not all those students learn the same way. You know, I wasn't a great test taker. I wasn't always a good note taker, but I was always a good person that paid attention in school. And so I really love education. And by the way, finally, this. Getting a good education, which you can get here in Marion County, you can get a great education in Marion County. Education, Dennis, is the great equalizer in our life. So it doesn't matter if you get a good education, it doesn't matter where you come from, if you come from a single parent family, or come from a family that has all the advantages, born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. It doesn't matter what part of the county you came from. If you come to Marion County School and you participate and you have parental help at home, it doesn't matter. And our job is to make sure that we do our job in there. When you get out, when you leave Marion County for the last time as a student, you're going to have a lot of advantages. I got to tell one quick story for me. Got time? I was visiting a family who I've known pretty much all my adult life in my area. And they had some questions, softball questions, quite frankly, about the nickel tax. I hate to come back to this right here. They want some clarifications, and they were satisfied with the answer. I said, you know what? I think getting the education is paramount in this county in today's age. Me and my wife, we don't have a great education, but I have 2 kids. Went to Marion County High School. I get teary-eyed when I tell the story. Their son is 1 semester away from getting a PhD. They went to Marion County High School. Their daughter in Louisville is a level 5 dental hygienist. They came from Marion County High School. That's what I'm talking about. That's the passion I have for people to go to Marion County High School can have. If they'll recognize that what we're doing is I know it's a struggle sometimes for parents, and if it means to, I think sometimes in life we have to vote against our own personal interest, and that's the nickel tax I'm talking about, for the benefit of the greater good. And that's the reason why I like to ask to the people in District 4, which includes St. Charles, Loretto, Holy Cross, St. Francis Precinct, to give me another opportunity, continue my opportunity to make this the best school district in the state of Kentucky, if not one of the better ones anyway, especially in our region. And we can do that. We have things in place now that make this happen.
All right, and Mike, I guess in closing, I obviously want to thank you for taking time out of your day to come up and commend you, because as someone who's done it, it takes a lot of nerve sometimes to put your name on the ballot and let people pass judgment. But regardless of the outcome, the fact that you have held office and are running for office and may continue to be in office is commendable for people to step up and make those choices.
Well, Dennis, you're right, and I admire anybody that steps up to throw the hat in the ring. All candidates, I really do. I think this speaks well for them, but it does take will and courage to put your hat in the ring.
Exactly, and wish you well on November the 8th.
Thank you so much.
That's Mike Cecil, the incumbent candidate for a position on the Marion County School Board representing District 4. He's opposed on the ballot by Peggy Downs. For Channel 6 TV Community Focus, I'm Dennis George.